Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. If you've ever felt like learning English is too expensive with all the pricey courses, tutors, and fancy apps, then this episode is for you.
That's right. Today, we're talking about how you can improve your English without spending a ton of money. Because let's be real, not everyone has the budget for expensive classes, but that doesn't mean you can't learn effectively.
Exactly. There are so many free or low-cost ways to practice and improve, and honestly, some of them are better than paid courses.
Yes, and in some cases, learning on your own can actually be more effective because you can focus on what works best for you.
So, if you're ready to level up your English without breaking the bank, let's get into it.
Alright, let's start with the most obvious free resource, the internet.
Oh, absolutely. There are so many free resources out there: YouTube, websites, podcasts, and even language exchange communities. You could literally learn English without spending a dime.
Yes, and one of the best places to start is YouTube. There are tons of channels that teach English for free, covering everything from grammar and pronunciation to listening and speaking practice.
Right. And the best part is, you can find teachers with different styles and accents, so you can choose what works for you.
Exactly. And if you're looking for listening practice, podcasts are a goldmine. You can listen to English speakers for free while commuting, cooking, or even working out.
Yes. And don't forget audiobooks. There are free ones available online, especially for classic literature. Listening to books is a great way to improve vocabulary and comprehension.
Oh, definitely. And speaking of free resources, social media is another great tool. There are Instagram and TikTok accounts dedicated to teaching English in bite-sized, easy-to-understand ways.
Yes. And beyond just learning from posts, you can actually use social media to practice. Comment on posts, join discussions, and interact with people in English. It's real-world practice for free.
That's such a good point. And let's not forget about language exchange apps. There are free apps where you can chat with native speakers who want to learn your language. It's a win-win.
Exactly. Instead of paying for a tutor, you can find a language partner and help each other learn. Plus, it's a great way to make friends from around the world.
Another great way to improve for free is immersion at home. Even if you're not living in an English-speaking country, you can surround yourself with English.
Yes. Change your phone settings to English, watch movies and shows without subtitles, and try to think in English throughout the day.
Right. Even small habits, like writing your to-do list in English or talking to yourself in English, help your brain get used to the language.
That's such an underrated tip. Talking to yourself, even just describing what you're doing, helps you get comfortable forming sentences without pressure.
Exactly. And if you want to improve your writing without paying for a teacher, there are free tools like Grammarly or online forums where people correct each other's writing.
Oh yeah, writing forums are super helpful. You can post short texts, and native speakers or advanced learners will give you feedback for free.
Yes, and speaking of writing, another budget-friendly tip is to keep a journal in English. It's a simple way to practice thinking in English every day.
So, as you can see, there are tons of ways to learn English without spending a fortune.
Absolutely. And honestly, if you're creative and consistent, you might not even need a paid course at all.
Right. It's all about using the free resources available and making English a daily habit.
And the best part, when you take control of your own learning, you become more independent and confident in your skills.
100%. So if you're on a budget but serious about improving your English, don't worry, you've got plenty of options.
Exactly. And the key here is consistency. You don't need to spend hours every day or buy expensive materials. You just need to practice a little bit every single day.
Yes. Even 15-30 minutes of focused practice can make a huge difference over time. The trick is to stay engaged and enjoy the process.
Right. And one way to do that is by making English a part of your daily routine. For example, if you already listen to music, try listening to English songs and looking up the lyrics.
Oh, that's a great one. And if you like watching TV shows, start with English subtitles, then try switching them off as you get more comfortable.
Yes, or even better, pause a scene and try to repeat what they just said. It's a great way to practice pronunciation and natural expressions.
Exactly. You don't always need a formal lesson to improve. Just find ways to immerse yourself in English in ways that feel fun and natural to you.
Yes, and let's talk about reading. A lot of people think they need to buy expensive books to improve, but that's not true at all.
Oh yeah, There are so many free books online, from classic literature to blogs and articles. Even reading news websites in English can help a lot.
Right, and if big books feel intimidating, start with short stories or comics. As long as you're reading something in English, you're improving.
And don't forget subtitles. If you're watching a show or video, reading subtitles in English can really help connect what you hear with what you read.
That's such a great tip. The more you expose yourself to English in different ways, the faster you'll improve without needing expensive courses.
Yes, and honestly, in today's world, with so much free content available, anyone can learn English if they just put in the effort.
Exactly, it's really about making use of what's already out there. If you're willing to put in the time, you can get the same if not better results than someone paying for an expensive course.
Right, and one thing I always tell people is, don't feel like you need a teacher to improve. Teachers are great, but they're not the only way to learn.
Yes, you can be your own teacher by practicing intentionally. Pay attention to what you struggle with and find ways to work on it using free resources.
Exactly, like, if pronunciation is your weak point, use apps that let you compare your speech to native speakers. Or if listening is tough, try shadowing where you repeat what you hear in real time.
Yes, and let's not forget about speaking. A lot of people think they need a tutor for that, but there are ways to practice for free.
Oh yeah, like online language exchange groups, or even just talking to yourself, recording your voice. Practicing conversations in your head, these things help more than people realize.
Exactly. The more you use English, even if it's just in small ways, the faster you'll improve.
Yes, and the best part is, learning this way makes you more independent. You are not relying on someone else to tell you what to do. You're taking control of your own progress.
Exactly, and that mindset shift is so important. Instead of thinking, I can't learn because I don't have money, think, how can I make the most of what's available? Because, trust me, there's a lot available.
Yes, the only real cost is your time and effort. If you're willing to put in both, you can absolutely reach fluency without spending a fortune.
Exactly, and honestly, some of the best English learners I've met never spent a single dollar on courses. They just used free resources, practiced daily, and stayed consistent.
Right, it's all about mindset. If you believe you need an expensive class to improve, you might hold yourself back. But if you realize you can learn with what's already available, you will be much more motivated.
Yes, and one thing that really helps is setting personal goals. Like, instead of just saying, I want to get better at English, set a goal like, I want to have a 5-minute conversation in English by next month.
Oh, that's a great tip. Goals give you something to work towards, and they help you measure your progress. Plus, they keep you motivated when learning feels slow.
Exactly, and speaking of progress, I think one of the biggest mistakes learners make is waiting to speak until they feel ready.
Oh, 100%. If you wait until you feel perfect, you'll never start. The sooner you practice speaking, even if you make mistakes, the faster you'll improve.
Yes, and mistakes are totally fine. Actually, they're necessary. No one learns without making mistakes first.
That's so true. And think about it when kids learn their first language. They make tons of mistakes. No one expects them to be perfect. And yet, they learn naturally over time.
Exactly. So, if you're learning English, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just keep going, keep practicing, and you'll get better without even realizing it.
Yep. And remember, improving doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need the perfect method, you just need to practice consistently and make the most of what's available to you.
Yes, and the good news is, English is one of the easiest languages to learn on a budget because there are so many free resources out there.
Exactly. So if you're serious about learning, just start. Find a method that works for you, stick with it, and trust the process. The results will come.
Yes, and another thing that helps is finding a learning style that works for you. Some people love watching videos, while others prefer reading or speaking with people. You don't have to follow a rigid structure, just do what keeps you engaged.
That's so important. If you force yourself to learn in a way that feels boring or frustrating, you're more likely to quit. But if you enjoy what you're doing, you will naturally stay consistent.
Exactly, and let's talk about writing. A lot of people ignore writing when learning English, but it's actually one of the best ways to improve overall.
Oh, 100%. Writing helps you organize your thoughts, practice grammar, and expand your vocabulary. Plus, it's free. You just need a notebook or a notes app.
Yes, and one easy way to start is by keeping a simple daily journal. Just write a few sentences about your day, even if they're basic at first. Over time, you'll see major progress.
That's a great tip. And if you want feedback, there are online communities where people correct each other's writing for free. So you don't even need a teacher for that.
Right, and honestly, the internet makes it easier than ever to learn English in a natural way. You can watch real conversations, read articles, join discussions. There are endless opportunities to practice.
Exactly. And I think one of the biggest takeaways here is that learning English doesn't have to feel like studying. The more you integrate it into your daily life, the easier it becomes.
Yes, whether it's watching YouTube, reading social media posts, or talking to yourself in English, all of these small habits add up over time.
And that's the secret. You don't need expensive courses. You just need exposure, practice, and consistency. If you have those three things, you will improve.
Exactly, and the best part is, once you start seeing progress, it gets even more motivating. You realize that fluency isn't some impossible dream, it's totally achievable, even on a budget.
Right. So, if you've been holding back because of money, don't let that stop you. There are so many ways to learn for free, and the only thing standing between you and fluency is taking action.
Yes, and taking action doesn't mean doing something huge right away. Even small steps like learning a new word every day or listening to a short podcast can make a difference over time.
Exactly. A lot of people think they need to make big changes to see progress, but it's really about consistency. Doing a little bit every day is more effective than cramming once a week.
Right, and another thing, don't get too obsessed with perfection. A lot of learners hesitate to speak because they're afraid of sounding wrong, but making mistakes is part of the process.
Oh yeah, perfectionism actually slows people down. If you're too focused on getting everything right, you might not practice as much, which means you'll improve slower.
Exactly, the best way to learn is by using the language, even if it's messy. Speak, write, listen, and read as much as possible. Over time, your mistakes will naturally decrease.
Yes. And remember, no one speaks perfectly all the time, not even native speakers. We forget words, we make grammar mistakes, we mispronounce things. It's totally normal.
Right, so instead of aiming for perfect, aim for progress. If you can express yourself and people understand you, you're already succeeding.
That's a great mindset. And speaking of progress, tracking your improvement can be really motivating.
Yes, even something as simple as recording yourself speaking every month can help you see how far you've come.
Exactly. And when you listen back to an old recording and realize, wow, I sound better now, that feeling is priceless.
It really is. So if you ever feel stuck or unmotivated, just remind yourself you are improving, even if you don't notice it right away. Just keep going.
Yes, because at the end of the day, learning English is a journey, not a race. As long as you stay consistent and enjoy the process, you will get there.
Exactly. Learning English isn't about rushing to the finish line. It's about steady progress and making it part of your daily life.
Yes, and the good news is, you don't need to spend a lot of money to do that. With all the free resources available today, anyone can learn if they put in the effort.
Right. So if you've been waiting for the perfect time to start, this is it. Start small, stay consistent, and trust the process. You will improve.
And most importantly, enjoy it. Learning a language should be fun, not stressful. The more you make it part of your life, the easier and more natural it becomes.
Exactly. So keep going, keep learning, and don't let anything hold you back. You got this.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time with more tips to help you on your English learning journey.
Yes, stay motivated, keep practicing, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.